Hello, everyone. Okay, so today what we're going to be doing is that we are going to be taking notes on Chapter 12, Section 5, which is entitled Gene Expression. Basically, what you need to do to your interactive notebook is that you need to write a reflection on the first part of Chapter 12 on pages 44 and 45. I think you need to write about a few good things that you did, also a few things that you would like to change in this new unit that will help increase not only the your learning but the quality of the work that you put into your notebook. So set yourself at least one goal of improvement and maybe comment on 2 to 3 things that you thought were done exceptionally well, and that will be going on page 44 and 45. On page 46, you are going to be creating a basically cover page for this unit, which is gene expression, which is going to be chapter 12 and 13, or 12, 5 and 13. So gene expression unit, you will be doing that cover page on page 46. Now on page 47, you will begin taking these notes. So begin on 47 and continue on until you're done. You will be taking notes not only on this PowerPoint, but also I'm going to assign one Canon video to watch. Okay, now it's time to clarify misconceptions. Many people think that cells are different because different types of cells have different DNA in them. And I'm here to tell you that that is completely false. The fact of the matter is that you are created from the fusion of one sperm cell and one egg cell, and each of those carries 23 chromosomes. When they fuse together, they make a fertilized egg that has 46 chromosomes. So that fertilized egg then, through replication and mitosis, the process of mitosis, they wind up making thousands and thousands and thousands and billions of copies that eventually become you. So all cells have the same DNA in a person's body or an organism's body. So this section or this unit will be covering at this standard. The standard for this unit, please write it down. Students know specialization of cells in multicellular organisms is usually due to different patterns of gene expression rather than to differences of the genes themselves. And that is what you need to understand in this unit, that the reason why liver cells or skin cells or nerve cells or brain cells look different and do different things is not because of their different DNA. It's because they choose to express or produce proteins that are different. Okay, you can see here that these cells are different. Here you've got a plant root hair cell that looks kind of like a key. You've got a neuron or a nerve cell that looks kind of crazy. It has its tail and these things on the cell body that look like hair, and then at the bottom it looks like little like feet. That is a very different looking cell. You have an immune system cell, a white blood cell that basically is in charge of like taking out the bad guys. And then you have like these red blood cells that kind of look like hollowed out in the middle a little bit, and those are red blood cells. They're very different types of cells found throughout your body. In multicellular organisms, there's all kinds of different forms and functions. So each cell looks very different because it does a different thing. So it produces proteins that make it look very different because their jobs require them to look different. So all cells carry a completely identical DNA sequences. So all of your cells, all the cells in an organism have the complete set of genes that every other cell has. So they have the exact same gene sequences. They must copy different parts of the gene sequences that allow them to make the different proteins. So basically, like I was saying before, a sperm and egg fuse together to make a fertilized egg. That fertilized egg divides, like for 9 months, eventually producing a little baby that has identical cells throughout. But they're producing, they don't no longer look identical. Genetically, they're identical, but they no longer look identical because they've changed, because different cells started producing different proteins to do their job. So nerve cells started producing different proteins that it got them to look deformed in a certain way that allowed them to carry nerve impulses. Skin cells started producing skin proteins that allowed them to produce a nice covering that's waterproof, and so on. Every single cell started doing a different job, so because they were producing different types of proteins. Okay, so we know that genes are turned off and on. We figured out that the reason why some cells produce some proteins and some other cells produce different proteins is because they're filled with other proteins that actually attach themselves or bind to the DNA. And we know that these things that attach themselves or bind to the DNA are the ones that control what's called gene expression, or which genes actually are transcribed and translated into proteins. So there's some enzymes that attract some of those proteins attract RNA polymerase, and that starts transcription. So some of the proteins that are in the cells actually attract RNA polymerase and start transcription. Some of those proteins found in the nucleus actually attach themselves to the DNA and lock it and don't let RNA polymerase transcribe those genes. So those genes are never read and turned into proteins. Development versus differentiation. Development, the process of an individual growing, changing gradually from a simple to a more complex level. It's basically synonymous with growth. So development is synonymous with growth. As you grow, your legs get longer, your more hair, stuff like that. That is development. D- Differentiation is something a little bit different. Differentiation is the process by which cells or tissues undergo change toward a more specialized form or function. Similar word is specialization. So cells become specialized by producing different proteins. So they may grow and develop, but as they grow and develop, it's not like you are a big version of your baby, of a baby. So when you were a baby, you looked a certain way. As you developed, you just don't look bigger, a bigger version of you when you were a baby. You actually look different. You have more hair in places, you have less hair in other places, or actually, you probably have more hair everywhere. You develop different things that don't make you different. You don't look like a tall baby. You look like differently. You basically differentiated. So when there's differentiation, it's basically you're producing different proteins that allow not only that make you look different. So right here in the picture, you see one cell that differentiated. Some of those cells started expressing different genes that created neurons, and another bunch of cells started producing different genes, expressing different genes that created a skin cell or epithelial cell. So each of these cells has the same genes, but the cells differ from one another due to cell differentiation. And here you could see how you get a mesenthelial cell, and you see MSA proliferation. Basically, they just mitosis, mitosis, mitosis. You get a lot of different ones. And then you've got different proteins that are start getting produced by the different ones, here represented by different colors, and eventually they start looking different. And you see the progression going down, the arrows marking the progression of the differentiation. So they're differentiating here. They're not only growing, they're differentiating. They're looking different. So it's really interesting that not only that as we grow and develop, when we see growth, we also develop. So it's growth and development. So this is the end of these notes provided by me. Please don't forget there's also a Canon video I'd like you to view that has many more animations and may answer some of the other questions. I will be adding on the Canon video an area right now that you guys can post any questions that I can answer for you in class, next class period. So if you have any questions about these notes and don't understand a certain part of them, please make sure you type it in during the presentation. I'm going to I'm going to put a little place for, and during when you explain a question, please, if you get it wrong or anything, please, if you don't understand it once you review the video, please ask questions in the Canon video presentation so I could actually see your remarks and address those in class. And please don't forget to watch the video after this and take notes on it. Don't forget objective and title.